stinks and he stinks.
Oh, shit.
It's called.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a brand new edition of the Hockey Happy Hour live on A2DRadio.com. I am Matt Sensuti, along with the broken one, Rob Povia.
Tonight, I'm a man of action.
Uh-oh.
And the one and only
right.
Mr. Brad Ryer. And tonight, gentlemen, we are brought to you by, as always, Manscaped. Get 20% off plus free shipping with the code at A2D at manscaped.com. That's 20% off plus free shipping with the code at A2D at manscaped.com. It's time to throw out your old hygiene habits and upgrade your life, because if there's one thing in this world you need more so than anything else, it's confidence. You can have all the skills in the world, but if you don't have the confidence to apply them, it's not going to work out at the end of the day. So, how do you get that confidence? Well, one thing that can definitely help you is Manscaped. Make you feel better, make you smell better, quite frankly, make you just better at everything, And there you go. You got the confidence you need, and life just gets a little bit easier. Simple as that. Manscaped. All right. So, gentlemen, the Flyers preseason is underway, and, it's been an interesting start. I mean, the Flyers, of course, have had some troubling news, and it is not just Sean Couturier. It's also involving other players now as well. But on top of that, the young pups, with an opportunity to make a statement on Saturday to open up the preseason, they did. And I actually got to be in attendance for it, so that was nice. And the Flyers did go on to beat the Bruins 2-1, even though it was rookies versus rookies for the most part. There was maybe at most 3 starters for the Bruins and maybe 2 or 3 starters for the Flyers. There wasn't a whole lot. Either way, Flyers did walk away with a 2-1 victory against the Bruins. And it was the efforts of both the Cates brothers that led them to that victory. And tonight, gentlemen, they pick up with the Buffalo Sabres, hoping to keep those good vibes rolling and keep the young pups going in the right direction. And tonight's poll question, which is brought to you by BetUS, the leading online sportsbook, which has been around for over 25 years. You can bet anywhere, anytime, on everything. And all you got to do is use that link that you see down below for 125% sign-up bonus. And, make yourself a little bit of money on the side, throw a little money around, and earn yourself a little bit of cash back on top of it. And the poll question is, the Flyers prospect pool is weak. After Saturday's game and the game that's going on right now, I don't know if opinions have changed or not, but I will let you guys take the floor. Do you agree or disagree with the poll?
I'm chomping at the bit to disagree with this. I mean, let's just break it down. All right. I'm going to go as far up as Joel Farabee. I still consider him a prospect. He's not, a vet yet. He's not an established player on this team. He's part of the youth movement. Owen Tippett, we got for Claude Giroux. Matty, you just talked about Noah and Jackson Cates, who each popped a goal in that first preseason game. Morgan Frost, who's played well tonight. Wade Allison, Isaac Ratcliffe, Tyson Forrester, Zayd Wisdom, Linus Sedin, Elliot Desnoyers, Samut Tumala, Cutter Gauthier, Devin Kaplan. I mean, I haven't even gotten into the defense yet. Cam York, Igor Zamula, Ronnie Attard, who's played dynamite on defense tonight. Wyatt Wiley, Linus Hoberg. And then you got Felix Sandstrom, who had a really good showing against the Bruins in the first preseason game. I mean, just like the salacious Tory Blackhorn said, oh my God, that's deep. Now, the hockey writers have them as the 22nd ranked farm system, despite building up players like Forrester, who is coming off shoulder surgery, Cutter, Samu, among others. But, there's a lot of nice, positives being thrown about. I'd put this, I'm not saying that this is, we're going to get into maybe who has the best farm system later on in the show during the shootout segment, but I put the Flyers maybe between 12th and 14th, still upper tank. So I don't think you can say that that's weak.
I mean, it's one of those things of where you see where the talent is, and unfortunately, what I think has caused a lot of people to kind of look at the Flyers system and kind of dismiss it has been the fact that we haven't really had a good time developing the talent. And I think a lot of that is due to a number of reasons. One, I think confidence is a big issue that these guys are lacking. Two, I don't think they're getting trained as well as they should be getting trained because we've had a rotating door of coaches and systems that have come in and out. It doesn't take very long for a coach to get fired here. Yes, coaches are hired to be fired, but some stability would be nice because these guys are having to adapt to one system and then literally a year later, they've got to adapt to a new one. It's like, I know coaches get hired to be fired here, but a year is very short in the lifespan of NHL. So that's not conducive that's not healthy for young prospects looking to earn their stripes and looking to fit into a system that works for them or figuring out what their role is as a player. And then finally, ultimately, I think it's also because of the fact that there's been a lack of veteran leadership. Yeah, there have been veterans, but I feel like sometimes their leadership doesn't always come up when it should, and it needs to. Obviously, Claude Giroux, I always saw did do his best to try and get things going for the team, but he's gone now, and I haven't really seen anybody take those reins up. No one to me has stepped up completely to say, okay, I'm going to fill that void and I'm going to help. I guess that goes along with the debate of, well, who wants to be captain? But at the same time, I think that's been the three major issues that have hurt the young players' development. And I think that that's what continues to contribute to the slow progress that you get from some of these guys or some of the the stuck in neutral position that we've seen from some of the other prospects like ATK or like an Ivan Provorov. So, Brad, what do you think?
Well, I think they should name TK the captain. I mean, he's young. He's been there a while. I mean, if anybody's a leader on the team, he's got to be the leader, right? I mean, the guy's got a very high ceiling. He's been on the team a while. He certainly has the potential to be worthy of being the captain. I just think that they really should name him captain. That to me makes the most sense. Hayes has not played enough games, although he is a leader. Cam's only been around for one season, so you can't really make him the captain of the team. I think that's who your captain should be at this point. And maybe it'll also help him, help his game. To know that all eyes are on him, and he's the one that everybody's going to be watching, and that's where I think it should go.
Brad, that's a good point. You know what I mean? Leadership can bring out the best in players. I just don't think TK has that leadership in this locker room. I think he's been part of the cancer, part of the problem. That's the only argument that I could put against that move. But what you say makes sense. He's a veteran on this team. We saw him pop a nice goal tonight on a give and go with JVR coming down the right boards, come down, take a tripping call, and then just lift the puck right over the goalie's glove hand side. Sweet goal. And, that's the type of plays that you could look for from a captain-like player. I just don't know if he's, like I said, I mean, it's going to get sorted out in Tortorella's camp as it's been hard working already.
Yeah, I mean, look, here's the thing. You have to remember, Tortorella has to figure this out. He's going to have to figure out who the captain is. They don't necessarily have to name a captain. The Rangers played the last 3 years without a captain.
Right.
And has it really been a big deal for them? No.
Right. And that's what I'm more in favor of, Brad, is why do you have to name a captain? Put a bunch of A's on guys.
That's I mean, that's the other side of it. I mean, it all depends on what as a team is if Tortorella's most comfortable with one guy being the captain or having 5 or 6 like Gallant did for last year and before that with Quinn. I don't think it's a bad idea. At some point, you do want to make sure you have a captain, though.
Sure.
So and you want to name the right guy. It is important to have the right guy as a captain. But a lot of times, if he's the captain, and again, I don't know the nuances of their locker room, nor do I know like what's going on. I know with the Rangers, they picked Trouba because Trouba was always organizing all the dinners and all the social functions and everything with that team, and he was the one that always stuck his nose in and was fighting for everybody's rights last year. So I think that was an obvious choice there. I mean, as much as I love Mika and Kreider too, and Kreider definitely could have deserved to be that guy. I mean, I always like the guy that sticks his nose in there when it's not welcome. And he did that all the time. He's kind of like, Zuccarello used to do that too. You kind of like guys that do that. And so I think with Connect, he's a little bit of a pest. And he's always, I mean, listen, again, I don't see him play that often. But against the Rangers, he's always doing something to beat the Rangers or to give them a hard time, along with Lawton, of course, who, from what I understand, is like Boston Scott against the Giants. That's the only team he ever scores against. So, I mean, sometimes that happens, but that's I think that's where you should look for your captain because he's young enough to be around for a while, and who knows, maybe it'll light a fire under his butt and it'll get him going.
So we've got the chat jumping in here. Prism, what's going on, Priz? Anthony's saying, hey, guys. What's up, Anthony? Raska said hi earlier. What's going on, Raska? Swoopy here. What's going on, Swoopy? And let's see here. He was also saying, he's saying, are you guys watching the Phillies game? My brother, sister-in-law, niece, and nephew are behind home plate to the left. Nice. Actually, no, I am not currently. The reason why is I have the television back here and I can't, or other words, maybe, just maybe, we might get a copyright strike.
You got a lamp. Nice.
I did. I was waiting for someone to pick up on that, and I leave it to Rob, who's very detail-oriented. He knows.
It only took me 14 minutes into the show. Matt, I wanted to answer one of the commenters. He's asking when is Flyers opening night. It's October 13th, 7 p.m. Hosting the Devils.
Right.
That was from game.
Yeah, that was from Brian Pearson. So welcome.
Winnable game for the Flyers.
Yep. Good old rivalry game to get things going. And it'll be the 55th season of play for the Flyers, too, by the way, in case anyone was wondering. Which also means it's the 55th season for the Blues, for the Kings, for the Penguins, and, I think that's it. No, there's one more.
Well, are the Dallas Stars?
Dallas.
I mean, they were the North Stars. They're the Minnesota.
Technically, I guess it would be their 55th season of play in altogether collectively. But if you're not counting the Minnesota era, and obviously, you don't count the Sharks with the Seals period because the Seals suck. So and they went out of business because of that reason.
So they don't count.
Yeah.
Right.
And
real quick, boys. Real quick, Matty. Third period just fired up in case you don't get it on your television. The game's not being televised because it's in Buffalo. Only the Buffalo feed is handling it. It's on NHL app. We'll relate to you everything that's going on. You don't need to switch what you're watching. But third period just getting underway. Flyers had a scoring opportunity right off the opening face-off. Quick rundown of the lineup tonight. The first line was made up of JVR, Morgan Frost, and TK. As I said, put up a nice goal with JVR assisting in the first period. Line 2 putting the Cates boys together, Jackson centering with Noah on the left and Cooper Merity on the right. Brad's boy, Anton Roussel, is on the left wing on the third line. Adam Brooks centering and Linus Sandin, another prospect for the Flyers, man in the right wing there. Fourth line, Isaac Radcliffe, Elliot Danaway, and Zach McEwen. On D, Cam York, Justin Braun, Kevin Connaughton, Ronnie Attard, who's had a great game. Linus Holberg, who I'm excited about as well. Adam Koreshik, I believe, not a player I'm familiar with. Tony Grosnick, or Troy, excuse me, not Tony. Troy Grosnick started this game. Good first 2 periods, made a lot of key saves on some strongman rushes from the Buffalo Sabres. Samuel Harrison in net here in the third period.
And Grosnick was actually in net on Saturday. He took over after Sandstrom was done for the night. And Sandstrom looked good. Grosnick looked good too. Grosnick made some very big saves. He only had 1 puck get by him the entire night. Sandstrom, obviously, part of that, he had no goals get by him that night. And he too had some big saves. So, goaltending prospects, although, can we consider Sandstrom a prospect still? I mean, he has had some time to play on the Flyers, a few games here and there. But all the same, everything looking good so far for goaltending for the Flyers right now. Yeah, and that answered Ted's question earlier of who started the game for the Flyers with the rundown there. So let's see here. EJW Ski saying Lawton captain, and then he goes on to say TK no. Very, very emphatically no.
No, like Will Ferrell and Elf. No,
right.
Yeah.
And honestly, if I had to choose anybody on the roster, TK I would not be having on that list of guys who would fall into it right now. Like, I get that TK's a pest, but TK is so schizophrenic with his play. He will trail off and he will get cold he'll be cold. Colder than freaking middle of winter in a snowstorm. He is horrible at certain points where he can't even buy a freaking goal. So it's like, that's not a good leader to have on your team. And yeah, he has a bit of a lip to him, but you know what? Chirping is one thing, but he doesn't lead by example. And I think that with a younger team like this, you need to have a better leader than that. You need a leader that's going to lead by example to show the young guys this is how it's done. You know, and if TK is showing them how to fucking fail at being a goal scorer, great. Like, then that's what we'll ask for. But I think for now,
describing Cam Atkinson, you know.
Cam Atkinson, at the end of the day, right now, he's not really high on my list at this point either. Actually, quite frankly, none of the Flyers are real high on my list at this point. I'm like, you know what? I got nobody who wants to be captain right now.
You're kind of describing him because he is a leader. I mean, he was definitely a leader in Columbus for a long, long time. And whenever he was injured, Columbus would lose. And whenever whenever he was healthy, they would go on winning streaks. Right. So, you know, that's you may be best off. I mean, what about Provorov? Is he a candidate?
No, he's too much of a diva. I wouldn't trust him with the C any day of the week. I'd be like, no, because it's only going to be a matter of time before something pisses him off or he's on the fucking rag and he can't fucking handle his shit anymore. And he's like, oh.
Or he's so good at pointing fingers, maybe you do make him the captain and give him that free ride to good. Point the fingers and go talk to him and make his hockey game better. It's a way to go, Maddie.
I'm not against the guy pointing fingers and telling guys to step up. It's just that when that guy is also responsible for a lot of the stupid shit you see out on the ice, it's kind of hard for someone to be pointing fingers when they're responsible for some of the shit that you see that makes you want to rip your hair out and put your blood pressure up a few points. So it's like
give away Charlie over there. Yeah, I got you.
Right. So it's just like, I don't know. Like if I'm looking for a captain with these players, I'm thinking like, all right, we need a captain who, yeah, he doesn't have to destroy every single game he's in, but you know what? He has to have a very strong, consistent play. And doesn't have any real sloppy habits, which unfortunately both TK and Provorov have. And that's not good for leadership skills on that one. Either way, it looks like we got a penalty call in the game between Buffalo and Philly.
Yeah, Gergensen got the stick. Oh, no, hooking. But he was down for a little bit. I thought he got that up too. Oh, he hooked him, and then Frost's own stick hit him in the face from the hook.
Gotcha. All right, so let's see here. Ted saying, shouldn't the players vote on the captain, not having a new corner coach pick the captain? I mean, it depends, I guess, on certain situations. I mean, you could essentially have that if you have if you have a player during the season who really proves himself and really steps up to the plate and earns the right to wear that C, the players may vote unanimously for him at the end of the day and may say to coach, like, coach, this is the guy at the end of the day. But I think most of the time the coach usually would rather reserve that right because sometimes the coach also sees something the players aren't seeing, and that's why the coach would always want to retain that at the end of the day.
Sure.
Let's see. So we have God in the chat, and God says, go Pens. Which, interesting.
Is he going to sing Doobie Doobie Doo again?
Yeah, I don't know.
Right.
But he did go on to say that the Flyers are the worst organization in sports. Sorry, I have to say it from Philly. Okay. He says he's from Philly. And
the worst organization in sports?
I don't know. I think the Coyotes still beat out them on that one, God.
I mean,
but,
at least the Flyers pay their bills.
Right. They didn't get thrown out of their own building.
Yeah, I mean, come on. And play. And their logo is on the ice, by the way.
Yeah,
right.
Sure.
I mean,
but I will say, God being a Pens fan explains a lot of things that's gone wrong in my life.
Right. That explains a lot. That really does. It also explains why a lot of things have gone bullshit right for the Pens. But anyway, let's see here. We got Leonard Keels saying, how will Tort do this year? Well, I'm on the pessimistic side, and I don't think it'll go all that well because I think he'll get sideways with several players, or the organization, and they'll find a way to get rid of his ass. But that's my personal take on it. I know that some of the other gentlemen on this show do not necessarily share my opinion with that, but that is mine. Gentlemen, how do you feel?
I like what he's preaching so far, Matty, in camp, just, priding on developing a strong work ethic, because I think that's something that this team has sorely missed on the ice and off the ice, in the weight room, conditioning, working on, you're only blessed with what stature you're given by God, but you can still put on size. We've seen several Buffalo players tonight who started off small and are playing much bigger. And you're seeing it in this game. And despite losing the face-off battle, they've had more time of possession in the Flyers zone. Go figure. But he preached to the team. There's a lot of things you can't control, but you can control the energy you put in the game and your work ethic. And as long as you focus on that, wins will come. So, or hopefully, God willing.
Well, you had that was the situation sort of last year with the Seattle Kraken. I mean, they for the first month of the season, they were playing reasonably well, and they were outworking everybody. But the lack of talent, especially after Tanev got hurt, that was it. When Tanev got hurt, the whole team fell apart because they just don't have much talent. But the point that I'm trying to make is, if you outwork the other team and you skate and you're fast and you keep skating, you can win games like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I know this is a bad comparison. You may not want to hear this one, okay? But I seem to remember a team by the name of the Seals, and yeah, I know you guys are gonna say, yeah, the Seals suck. Yeah. Well, you know what though? I will say this: that team could skate. and they were very hardworking, but in the end, they never paid anybody, and they all ran to the WHA and left the team with nothing. So, but in their early days, that team could skate, no question about that. And they worked hard.
And speaking of working hard, the Flyers having a lot of great offensive opportunities there against Buffalo in their zone, really working into those dirty areas and getting that puck free.
So that's
Yeah, man.
Cinderella hockey.
This is how they started off the game, and they're getting back to it. They had a bit of a swoon there in the second period, helped getting that power play though, Matty. They looked really good, and that's a thing that this team's really got to work on during this preseason and camp, and that's the special teams. They were absolutely abysmal on the power play and the penalty kill. And in game one, going with what I think they were 1 for 5 on the power play, which isn't all that great, but they did pop a power play goal and were 5 for 5 on the penalty kill. So far, so good. I'm not sure if tonight's Buffalo goals were even. I think they were even strength.
Gotcha. Let's see here. Brian saying, do you three guys think that this is a Stanley Cup season for the Philadelphia Flyers? If not, how long do you think it's going to take for them to get there to the Stanley Cup and win it? Well, I can simply say no for this being that year. This year is not going to be, in my opinion, not the best year to be a Flyers fan. As for them in the future, they got a lot of work to do. I mean, we kept saying
they're going to have to get lucky in the draft.
It almost seems like, that's pretty much what it's boiling down to sort of kind of streamline it a little bit better.
If it's not Bedard that they get, I mean, just getting a couple of real good players in the draft would really help this year. And as we all know, and it's not just Bedard this year. This year there's a ton of really talented players that are coming out this year. So, they've got to make sure they pick the right players.
Right.
I mean, for sure,
that's going to be a lot of it. And
they need that elite player. They need that elite player, Brad. You know what I mean? If they get that elite player, that'd be good. They have a deep prospect pool, but they don't have that guy. You know what I mean?
Well, I understand what you're saying, but again, it's really going to depend on how they draft the next couple of years. I think it's going to take them 3 years to be able to get back into the playoffs again. I mean, I think there's the cupboard is not dry by any stretch of the imagination, but the cupboard needs to get some experience.
Right, that too. So along that way, as you're drafting and building the team, your young current crop of players now are developing. You know what I mean?
Right, and
maybe
they also
even at
have
the NHL level.
And they have to play, and you know what? They have to play really. You're kind of gonna expect that they're probably gonna struggle off the bat, but they're if they show improvement, when they down the stretch, in the middle of the season and down the stretch, that's a real good sign.
That's a win.
But that's kind of what you're going to need to do. But the main thing is they're going to have to really they're going to have to be the black and blue Flyers and not the black and orange Flyers, if you know what I mean. That's what they're going to need. That's how they're going to need to play. They're going to need to play tough. They're going to need to play in front of the net to score. Go into all the greasy areas, and that's what they're going to have to play like. And if they're willing to do that, they can be competitive this year. If they're not willing to do that, then it could really, really get to be an ugly season.
Yeah, I will say in terms of future competitiveness for the Cup, I know in the past we were saying 2, 3, 4 years. I'm thinking we're looking at 5. Now I'm thinking I'm kind of with Brad on the 3 years to get back into the postseason, but that's just to get into the playoffs. That's not even to be competitive in the playoffs.
Correct.
That's just to even get there.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. Is just to get back into the playoffs again. Even if if all the chips fall perfectly for the Flyers, okay, they get Bedard next year. Okay, Bedard is going to still be an 18-year-old player in his rookie year.
Right.
Okay, so I mean, can he be Austin Matthews? Maybe. maybe he has an effect right away. But that's asking a lot. Most of these guys, it does take a year or two for them to really just get to be strong enough to play with men. With
Right.
25 and 26-year-old players. That's
Right.
that's
These.
part that's part of it. I mean, but the other part is he's going to need some help too. And if they can, next year you can expect that they're going to be able to do a little damage in free agency. They should have some money available. No.
Well,
I mean, Van Riemsdyk is going to be gone.
well,
If
he'll be gone.
if Ellis is done, then they can use long term. They can always at the beginning of the season next year put him on long term injury reserve, and then you have his money to use,
Right.
and then you're not going to probably have. I would imagine that either Hayes or Atkinson is going to be off the team at the end of the season. So I mean, you're going to have some money available in free agency. It would probably behoove them to, based on, of course, who they get. But I'm going to assume they get Bedard for a minute. Okay, if they can get
Okay.
him a running mate, if they can get him a young running mate, then that would really help.
That definitely
Sure.
would. That definitely would. Um. Yeah. I mean that sounds like a strong philosophy. That's if, of course, like you said, all of the chips fall in the favor of the Flyers.
Yeah,
They,
no,
they,
but you know
that
what?
Ryan Ellis.
You'll end up getting the second pick because that's kind of the way that's kind of the way things have gone with the Fly. I mean, Shane Wright falls to 4, and you happen to be 5.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
what are the odds that happen? I mean, you think he'd be first, but no, they have to go to 4 and get you guys all worked up and excited, and then they pull the wool out like that. I mean, that's just like, all right, you know what? I can laugh. I can laugh a lot at you at the Flyers, but that's kind of that's just not right. You know, there comes a
Total
time
Philly.
where it has to stop. That was cruel and unusual punishment. There's no need. There's no reason for that. So you got to think they're going to catch a break somewhere.
Yeah. And
Maybe a couple of the guys play great this year. Who knows?
in terms of your point about Ellis and long-term IR, that could even happen this year, man.
Yeah. I mean, if that happens, they're going to have a lot of cap space. If he's on long-term IR this year and then he never comes off it in the summer and they just leave him on it, then they will have money in the summer to play with.
Mhm.
That's the thing. Once he goes on it, if you leave him on it and you leave him on it through the off season, then then you're going to have his money to be able to play with, which would really help. So and then it might be in free agency that you go out and get your captain.
Well, it'll we'll see. We'll see how that happens. Benny Snitch saying you don't think in 3 years they can't be competitive, especially in an aging Eastern Conference. Problem is if 100 points becomes the standard, it doesn't matter.
I don't think that's gonna continue.
Well, let's just assume that if it doesn't, fine. But say it does. Say teams still manage to make that standard happen. The Flyers will not be competitive for a while because it's like 100 points. That's not even a guarantee to get you in. I mean, last year was if that's the future, then yeah, there's even more work to be done than the ton that's already due on the board. So there's a lot to take into consideration. I get it that there is an aging side of the Eastern Conference. Obviously, Ovechkin, Crosby, Malkin. How much longer do these guys have left before they start to really deteriorate and we start to see, okay, the Pens are going to start routinely missing, and so are the Capitals. But
listen, it happened to the
we're not there
Blackhawks.
yet.
Happened to the Blackhawks. Listen, Father Time, as we all know, is undefeated.
True.
The Blackhawks and the Kings both ran out of time, and you saw what happened.
That's a good point.
So
so did the Pens.
Yeah. So I mean, it's going to happen to the Penguins too. I mean, how much longer you're talking about? 34, 35, 36-year-old players. It's not that easy, and especially it's especially not easy to stay healthy. That's the other thing. it's not just the talent level goes. It's trying to stay healthy and be on the ice a lot. These guys at their advanced age aren't going to be able to put in as much ice time either.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, don't forget about the Bruins on that list too.
Yeah, true. And even though Bergeron did come back, Krejci will be coming back. Thing is, it's like, okay, how much longer are you guys going to depend on those guys? It's like, how much longer can they keep that up? So
Right,
that's a lot to think about too.
And
I think the Rolling Stones are more virile.
Yeah, what's his name? Taylor. What's Taylor? What the hell is the guy's name that used to play for the Devils? Taylor. What's his last name?
Taylor Hall.
Yeah. He's gonna have a. I wouldn't expect that he's gonna be lighting the light a lot in a couple of years either. For the Bruins, I think the Bruins are definitely on the sandglass as well as the Penguins and the Capitals. I think the Capitals this year are in big trouble.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can't lose Tom Wilson. As much as I hate Tom Wilson, and I want to see somebody, I want to see him stretched off the ice. I really do. but I got to tell you, he's a good player, and so is Nicholas Backstrom. And to lose both those guys until they're saying at least February or March, I don't know how the heck they can stay competitive without those guys.
Truth.
I mean, they weren't all that great. They weren't all that in the bag of chips last year with them playing. I mean, how good could they possibly be without them?
Right.
All right, so let's see here. Let's take a look at what other stuff the fam was talking about. We have Ted saying, hopefully Torts quits, tank for Bedard. And then Ted also says the Knicks are the worst, and then he goes on the Commanders.
I'm not sure about the Knicks right now. The Knicks have been a little bit better the last couple of years.
True.
And
Pete's saying agree to the poll.
They're gonna have a decent. They'll be pretty good this year, I think.
And then Ryan and Swoopy saying agree to the poll. A lot of it is because of horrible development, the horrible aged lack of development causing the prospects to be weak. Chuck saying what's up, Chucks? Benny, what's going on, man? And let's see here. What else we got? And Ted also goes on to say, Flyers fell into an accidental tank. Maybe the NHL will award the Flyers over Chicago, who are outright tearing apart their roster. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Obviously, the accidental tank.
It doesn't seem like they're going for a tank, man. The way they're, I mean, this camp has been hard. And to Swoopy's point, I respect your opinion. We can agree to disagree, but the talent pool's there. Sometimes you bring a different leadership, a different voice, and you bring out. I mean, we see that with every sport all the time.
Hey guys, I'm going to give you a baseball team, okay, that nobody expected to be anywhere near where they are this year. Okay, the Baltimore Orioles.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, were you expecting them to compete for the wild card right now in the middle of September?
Nope.
And say, oh, they got a big series in Boston this week. If they can sweep this series and win these games, Seattle and the Tampa Bay Rays better watch out. Would you be expecting that?
I mean, I expect them to hit because I like their lineup, and then bringing up Adlai Rutschman, has been, and Gunnar Henderson has been the final two pieces that have really glued that lineup together.
No, but at the beginning of the season, were you expecting this?
No, because they've gotten the pitching that I didn't expect. Kyle Bradish has been lights out.
So why can't it not happen with the Flyers? You don't know. Listen, when the Flyers brought up Prop and Zezel and Flockhart and who was the other one? They had four guys that they brought up in 1 year at the same time. You remember that particular team? Sinisalo and those guys, that group.
I think so.
They all came up at like the same time, and nobody expected them to be any good. And meanwhile, they played great and they were a really good team.
Right.
So it just what it says is you never really know what's going to happen. Some of these guys may just need to get out there and get the ice time, and play. And there's low expectations. So if they go out there and they get their playing time, who knows? You just don't know.
No, he's a little later. I was thinking Terry Carpenter, but he came up. He was with a couple other teams, and then he came up with the Flyers in the late '80s.
Terry Carpenter actually started with the Rangers.
He sure did,
and he was terrible when he was with the Rangers.
Right.
He was a good fighter. I mean that he did really well, but
right.
he was a defenseman, and he just had no confidence with the puck. But I don't know what happened in Philadelphia, but he became a pretty daggone good player in Philadelphia.
Sure.
Benny's Nation throwing out. If it's going to be a young team, it'll be easier for Torts to get his point across. More or less, they don't know any other way to the highest level. It's a good point.
He'll point him in the right direction.
Yeah.
Kind of
and they've been babied. And they've been babied.
They'll work
hard.
Right,
Rob.
Because if they don't work hard, they're not going to play.
Right.
Correct.
EJ Dubs saying, I trust Tort over players. And then Ted also says, our guys get hurt in the weight room. Just look at Coots.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Oh, that's still too soon. Let's see. Young Da saying, the only thing I can look forward to is the draft. Hopefully we can somehow, some way get that number 1 pick, and not just that, but we need to have an all-around good draft. We can always use a good draft. Always use a good one.
You can't lose on purpose and be the worst team because you may not get that first-round pick.
Right.
It doesn't work that way in the NHL. You could be stuck with 3 or 4.
And Ted did go on to say, Bedard is the guy, but the next 2 players are franchise-altering too.
Yeah, it's deep.
There are this draft is like 60 deep from what I've heard.
Ooh.
The first two rounds, there are some real good players. So, look, everybody is going to get some good players. Is going to get a couple of good players, depending on how many draft picks they have. So, I mean, this is the year. If you're going to be bad, this is a good year to be bad because there's really a lot of guys to get.
All right, gentlemen. So now let's move on to our to some of our topics, looking at the preseason overview. But before we dive into that, for all the comments that we got coming in, which we say thank you very much, guys. We appreciate it, fam. You guys are the lifeblood as always. And that is brought to you by Gleason's Bar, which is located 6700 Mill Creek Ave in Levittown, PA. You can use promo code A2D for 10% off your order whenever you dine in, take out. You go online at Gleason'sBarandSteaks.com. Get yourself some good food if you're ever in the Levittown, PA area. All right, so unfortunately, more sad news for the Flyers, who have had nothing but sad news in recent days, except for the win they got on Saturday. Obviously, Coots got hurt with conditional training, which now puts him, like you were saying, Rob, last week, at best 3 months, but that's at best, and that's if everything goes well, like you were saying. However, other news recently came out. Ryan Ellis, who was supposed to be the defensive captain and get his start as a Flyer this year, is now going to be out for the entirety of the 2022-23 regular season. And there is a possibility, there's some whispers saying this may very well be a career-ending injury that he has suffered. And if that is the case,
tragic.
It's tragic, but it also did 2 things. It upped the value of getting Chris Pronger, and it upped the value of getting Peter Forsberg. Because at least Chris Pronger played a couple of seasons for the Flyers and was the captain. And Peter Forsberg was the captain and had 1 good year for the Flyers. Right. Ellis was supposed to be the defensive captain and played 3 whole games. So Ellis is officially the shittiest trade in Flyers history, probably up to this point.
I would say yes, based on what Ellis has not done due to health. But who did we give up? We gave up Phil Myers, who's dog shit, and Nolan Patrick, who Nolan Patrick's talking about retiring too.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about him. He's what's wrong? What does he have? A concussion problem again?
The migraines, they don't go away, apparently.
Yeah, that's a shame. Yeah, I mean that's what happened. Remember that happened to Lindros's brother.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You know,
Brett
with the
Exact same
Lindros.
concussions.
thing. Yep.
Brett, his brother Brett. I think he only played like 2 years because he was constantly getting concussions.
Well, the fight he got in with Eric didn't help anything.
Yeah, well, brothers fighting is never a good thing.
Right.
Hey,
Dan, what's going on, man?
just remember what Eric Stahl did to his brother
Right.
with
He said,
that dirty hit, and he ended up with a concussion and missed half the season.
right. And then Dan's saying Flyers going to suck anyways this season and every season after this one. This is just a waste of internet archive space. Interesting, Dan. And when will Vancouver win their first Stanley Cup? Probably never.
Vancouver? Is he a Vancouver fan?
Yes.
From
Oh, how's Brock Besser doing, by the way? I'm just wondering. I know that's kind of fighting dirty, but you know, is he going to sign? Is he going to play? I mean, what's going on with him?
Good question.
And let's see here.
He doesn't, he doesn't know who he's messing with because I'm here now, and I'm always going to retaliate, guys.
Oh, we know.
You know, I'll stick up. I will stick up for my brothers, though. You know that.
Oh, we appreciate. And also, by the way,
hitting the boards and Brad's coming in. Gloves off.
Clear the path. Brad's coming.
You know, if you've stunk it up for the last 40 years in the NHL, you need to shut up. What has Vancouver ever done? Go to 7 games with the Rangers in '94. Well, you know that's great, but you lost that series. You had a great player who you wasted his talent, and that was Bure. So and then you choked against the Bruins in the playoffs. Like 20 years ago, and then you've sucked ever since. So
Facts.
Do you riot? Well, we definitely know Vancouver does. We remember the riots, 94 and 2011, both times. Oh man! So let's see here. Roscoe saying Chris Pronger had no business getting injured as a Flyer. Unfortunately, shit happens, and it ended Chris Pronger's career. And then Benny's Nation saying Keith Primo beats it out. I mean, in terms of beating out both Forsberg and Pronger, we got a pretty good mileage out of Primo. I mean, Primo unfortunately played that kind of game that was going to lead to it. Unfortunately,
yeah.
Pronger. I mean,
Primo was a really good player. I mean,
he was.
As much as I couldn't stand him, that guy was a really good player. He was. I mean, he was. I mean, I just remember one game when he played against the Rangers when he was with the Flyers, and he was so sick, and he was still out there. He went and he threw up in the penalty box, and then right after his penalty is over, he's running out there playing. I mean, and I remember the Ranger announcers were like, "You got to be kidding! He's going out there and he's playing."
Yeah.
And then they had to show a replay of him throwing up in the penalty box, which wasn't really necessary. But leave it to the Rangers to do that. Thank you very much. But you know what? I'll tell you what. That guy, I always had a lot of respect for him after he did that, because I was like, man, if I got sick, if I was that sick, I could never be on the ice.
Yeah, that was crazy. But that's the kind of player Primo was, man. He did not care.
Yes, he was.
So, gentlemen, with Ellis being out, actually, EJW was saying this one perfectly, saying, what would be your 4 lines in the 3D pairings? With Ellis being out, Coots being out, Ellis possibly being done for good, and Coots being out long term, what are you looking at in terms of, I mean, we did go over it a little bit last week. But with the Ellis news added in, what do we do? What are you guys feeling now in terms of your three defensive pairings and whatnot?
Just specifically on defense or the lines themselves?
I would say on defense.
I think they're going to put D'Angelo with Provy on the first line. You went out there. That was the big acquisition for what the Flyers could do monetarily speaking. That's the move of Chuck Fletcher trying to save his job. So I think he'll get top billing with Provorov as long as he can maintain the level of play that he showed with Carolina. I really liked Sanheim and Ristolainen, especially later on in the season. They really developed a good chemistry. I'd have them on the second pairing. And then that way you can allow Cam York to maturate, maybe like put him with a Ryan Braun, or Justin Braun, not Ryan Braun, wrong sport. Or possibly even one of the young guns. He's worked well with Samula before. He's worked well with Wiley before, so that could be a potentiality too if you were to healthy scratch Justin Braun. Cam York played a lot with Provy too, and I could see that. I could definitely see that. And maybe them two can switch back and forth depending on the context of the game.
Yeah, I could see. That would make sense. I like those lines.
Braun, I think he should play with Braun. To be honest with you, Braun is pretty good. Braun's a pretty good veteran player. When he
good teacher too.
Yeah, and he can play both sides of the ice too. So
sure.
He can always slide over and move up and down your lineup whenever you want him to as well. So that was a good move getting him back. Their D doesn't really sound. After you explain that, their defensemen don't sound that bad. I just think the problem with them is going to be scoring.
Right. As it was tonight, they lose 2-1 to the Buffalo Sabres after they had the mandatory shootout after preseason games.
Right. And then, by the way, Ted announced that as well, but he also said JVR has the A. In what bizarre world is JVR an assistant captain?
10-year leadership. You saw it tonight.
Wasn't he didn't in Toronto?
JVR?
Didn't he have the A in Toronto?
Yeah, he did. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but that was his best years.
Right. Okay, Right. So, but even still today, for his history with the Flyers, as well as he went after a guy tonight after a scoring chance that stemmed from earlier in the game when a Buffalo Sabre took a cheap shot at TK after he was probably chirping. So he sticks up for his teammates. I think it's a clear one of your A's probably got to be JVR.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's preseason anyway, so I think they're playing around with who they think should wear an A and who shouldn't wear an A. But I think veteran leadership definitely gives you that. When on Saturday Anisimov was wearing an A, and he's on a PTO, so
right, exactly. But according to Left Wing Lock, they got Anisimov centering the top line. Now I don't necessarily agree with that. I think what you're going to see come opening night will be hazy there between JVR and Konechny. I guess he just got to get right himself.
Yeah.
Hayes had a rough year though. With his injuries and then his brother.
Yeah.
You kind of gotta. I would give him the benefit of the doubt. That was really rough last year for him.
Yeah. Last year was a hard year. Wouldn't wish that on anyone. Real
quick, Matt, you know what line would be exciting for me? If they had Noah and Jackson, if they kept them together with Owen Tippett on the other side. That would excite me.
Interesting. How excited
about putting
would you
Frost
be?
with them?
Yeah. I could fucks with that.
That would be fun to watch. Listen, they got some young players. These guys, somebody has to step up.
Right.
That's
I got to tell you guys, I really hate the Blue Jays. They walked Judge for the fourth freaking time tonight. 4 times? What kind of a scumbag organization does that?
Any of them intentional?
Unintentional, intentional.
Gotcha.
They were all on 3-2 pitches, but the ball fours were nowhere near the plate.
Not even close. They didn't give in. Yeah,
Yeah,
nobody
they
wants
were.
to give up 61.
I mean, come on. You know what serves them right? He scored 3 runs tonight. So you know what? That's what
There
you
you go.
get.
That's what you get.
That's what you get for being scumbags. I mean,
What's the score of that game?
oh, it's 5-2 Yankees. They're
Nice.
comfortably ahead, and they got first and second now again. Because every time, I mean, the stupid thing is, they're walking Judge with runners on first base. So
Mm.
you're just moving guys to second base.
Right in the scoring position, right?
Right, right. It's
Yeah.
like, come on. I could only imagine how frustrated Barry Bonds must have been when they kept doing that to him all the time.
All right, so gentlemen,
Sorry, I
um,
digress.
no, I understand. You had to get it out of your system. It's
That,
very
I'll
I
talk
mean,
very
baseball all day.
natural.
four walks. No, seriously, 4 walks. Come on. And
We
everybody
can,
is joking about, oh, Judge is choking. Well, how about if he stops getting? How about if they actually throw some strikes to him?
yeah.
So, gentlemen, we will move on to the second period. First period brought to you by, if you are looking to buy or sell a home, looking for a change in career and brokerage, contact Alan Foy at eXp Realty LLC at 302-682-8820 or visit him at alan.foy at exprealty.com. Big step in life. Make sure you do it right. Go to Alan Foy, eXp Realty. All right. Gentlemen, as the game ends between Buffalo and the Flyers, with Buffalo getting the win preseason, and we see a little bit more of some of the younger players that are looking to try and get a spot right now. As we see it going forward, how do you feel about the whole bringing in Antoine Roussel and Artem Anisimov in the PTO? And the only reason I ask is because, do you feel like that's clogging up the pipeline if they play decently enough and you decide to sign them? If you go through the preseason and you decide, you know what, we're going to move on from the PTO and actually give you a contract, even if it's just a season contract, do you like that or do you hate that in a way? Because you feel like that's kind of taking a spot away from one of the younger guys. Like, for a player that's only going to be here for a year and make bare minimum salary, it's like, what's the point? Like, how do you guys feel about that?
Yeah, I'll jump in, Brad, and say this. I never shy away from competition, and I think that's what this camp is all about, Brad. You said before, if you play well, you're going to play. If you don't, you're not. You know what I mean? So, it gives, guys a second chance in their career that maybe can bring to this team. And, it's time for the young pups, to stop being babied and put up or shut up. If you put up, you'll make this team. If not, they can roll with some of these veterans. And, Nisimov is interesting.
Okay.
Nisanov is not a bad player,
Right.
And,
Nothing.
and,
No,
and
not saying that.
I love Antoine Roussel. I mean, he's always been one of my favorite players. I mean, here's a guy that goes in the corner. The elbows are always up. He'll keep your head up. Yep. As far as I'm concerned, I think what the Flyers are doing, they should sign these guys and let them play. And if these young kids are as good as they think they are, and I'm not talking about the Flyers thinking they are, I'm talking about these kids. If they're all they think they are, then go out there and beat them out.
Right.
You know what? Go down to the minors, play your asses off. Realize that these guys are on 1-year contracts. Get back and take the spot away.
Right.
But there is nothing given to you in the NHL.
Right.
Okay, plain and simple.
Right. And Brad, there's going to be a need for these players too, because I mean, we talked about Couturier already. He visited a specialist on 9/22, and the Flyers have still not given an update on that. That's not a good sign.
No, it's not.
Right.
It's not. So it's not a bad.
Right.
To me, it's not. To me, the whole situation about signing. I mean, the Rangers are doing that with Jimmy Vesey. You know what? If Jimmy Vesey makes the team and like Kravtsov can't crack the lineup, well, you know what? Shame on you for not being able to beat out Jimmy Vesey.
Sure. No, absolutely.
This is about winning. This is about winning. This is professional sports. the best players play. Okay,
Right.
get your ice time just because you're a big baby and run to Russia when things go wrong. Okay, or whatever the situation is with your team as well. You don't just they're not entitled to be on the team. Okay, they have to earn it. Okay, if you listen, if a young player plays evenly with one of these PT contracts, okay, then guess what? They'll get a chance to play.
Sure.
But you know what? If Tortorella's going to roll with whoever plays best, he does not care. He does not care about hurting somebody's feelings. Okay, I mean, all you got to do if you look at his time with the Rangers, look what he did with Chris Kreider. I mean, he drove Chris Kreider nuts because Chris Kreider was being a baby and wasn't playing hard enough.
Right.
And it took, but you know what? Look at Chris Kreider now. I mean, he because
Right.
he learned the right way, and
Right.
that's what some of these guys need to do.
Right.
They have to realize that you're not going to get. It's not. There's no free rides. No free rides in the NHL. And that's why the Flyers brought some of these guys in.
Ted is saying, hate it, play the young guys. This PTO guy will be taking time that we could be developing and playing our young draft picks. He also then goes on to say, Brad so wants the Flyers to play over their heads and not even get a shot at Bedard.
Nah, I don't think that's
It's
the
a
angle he's coming
conspiracy.
from. I don't want to speak for him, but I don't think that's the angle that he's coming from. But I mean, there's no guarantee that these guys will make that. You know what I mean? Like, I think back to what Herb Brooks did with that 1980 team, and he brought a guy in late, and they did not like it, and it was the best thing he could have done for that team. You know what I mean? Where it really drove guys to compete, it drove guys to bond together, chemistry wise. It's a good tactic, and I'm seeing a little similarities here. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I actually am starting to like John Tortorella.
John
After all
Tortorella is
these
an easy guy.
years.
As a fan, he's a very easy guy to like.
Right.
Okay, it's playing for him. Maybe another story. By the way, the Rangers just lost in overtime to Boston 3-2.
Bummers.
So I don't know if they're going to play have a shootout also just to. Is that something that they do every game?
The
Good
referees
practice,
decide.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, beautiful 2-on-1 in overtime. Yeah, Halak had no shot at that.
Mm-mm.
So let's see here. Ted says, if this was about winning, Johnny Hockey would be on the team. But we have like Disney band, no direction.
You couldn't. You had no salary cap room.
And then Benny's goes on to say, these moves are perfect for the young guys, the players you are bringing in. Yeah. It's just, I threw it out there because I'm sure that there are some who are not thrilled at the idea of bringing in players that have had history in the NHL, only because they feel like, well, why not give the young guys opportunities to play in the pros? Meanwhile, instead you give 1-year contracts and minimum salary to two guys who really weren't good enough to stay in the NHL, and now all of a sudden they got a PTO. I think that might be a bit of the perspective that some people were taking on that. My opinion, though, is if I was in that position, I would not offer a PTO. But here's the thing. My position is I want us to be bad. I want us to not have a good year because I want Bedard. I'm
but
still
you're not
100%
guaranteed to get him.
Not guaranteed, but you up your chances by being a shit team. And I'd rather up my chances. And even if I miss, like Ted said earlier, the next two guys right after that, still franchise altering. So even if you don't, it's like the old saying, if you shoot for the moon and you miss, you still land among the stars. That's basically the situation there. And you're in a good spot.
Here's the thing, though, and it's still a business. Are people going to go to the games? I mean, are there going to be like 20 people in the seats while they're losing, or are they going to get supported? Because I mean, in Philadelphia, you're not if you don't win, they're not going to show up.
Here's the thing.
Not if they're that bad.
here's the thing. Yes and no. Two ways. One, make ticket prices cheaper, which they'll never do. Two, at least have the support of the team and from the fans. The fans are also looking at this from the perspective of, we don't even like the fucking ownership. We want the team to be sold. That's from the fans' perspective. And it's almost like, well, fuck it. We'll boycott them. Get them the fuck out of there. Now, will that work? No. But at the same time, I feel as though that it's like, make the ticket prices cheaper, and I think people will come by to see the young players develop. If you make cheap seat tickets a decent price, people will buy to sit in the cheap seats, or sit in the, what's that area called nowadays? In the well, where you have the bar and everything like that.
Pavilion?
Thank you. Yeah. People will do that. People will go and do that. I don't think they'll sit in the front row. They won't buy the super expensive tickets.
Yeah.
That'll be for like the season ticket holders,
Right.
who might make a little extra money on the side in the secondhand market.
What you'll see, Matt, is you'll see them. They'll have a promotion, like, you know what I mean, like this, maybe like, free ticket giveaway or like a reduced game here and there. But now they're not going to lower ticket prices. They're in
Or
for
they'll give out
business.
some autograph.
What you need to see happen is something we talked about a couple shows in the past, and that's the Flyers alumni needs to come out and do more things within the stands and more things even like, outside in that area, like you're talking about, Maddie, when it gets warmer or whatnot, that'll still bring the people out.
Right. I mean, to me, that's the thing that they're going to have to do. Like the marketing department and everything, they're going to have to really work hard this year. They're going to actually have to earn their paycheck this time around, not just come up with some fancy little slogan and say, okay, there we go. We've done our job for the year. Let the 82 games roll on in.
I like that, Betty.
Yeah, Benny's saying Roussel, Duziaries, and McEwen coming back allows the young guys to play without having to be targets. They have protection.
Yeah, but that's a whole third. That's a whole fourth line, though. That's three spots. That's the only problem.
Roussel and McEwen, though. See, here's the thing.
Roussel can play.
Roussel, yeah, but even if he winds up being a guy that gets scratched maybe once in a while, McEwen will probably be that guy who'll be an odd man out a lot. Delari's, he's the guy who's going to wind up having to play all the time because you paid him that contract that is still fucking stupid to this day. That's a dumb contract to sign him to. But, that would be the guy that would most likely be playing most of the time. Whereas Roussel and McEwen would be the odd man out in the lineup, it would seem.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, McEwen, though, I could see him and Roussel getting down and being a nice energy line, putting up some scoring chances, though, as well as beating people up.
Maybe. Ted saying, that's not true. An 06 fans sold out the building every game. The way ownership is treating the fan base, no. They'll come to see McDavid, and fans in division will take over our building.
That's true, man. I was season ticket holder that year, Teddy, and yeah, everybody was coming out, even though it was an abysmal season, but night and day in terms of ownership. It was a different world when Ed Snyder was alive in it.
Yeah. So it's something to keep an eye on. And since we're at 9:44 here, and our second period on that note, second period brought to you, ladies and gentlemen, by All Campus OC. Now, I don't think the shore is open any longer. I don't know, but maybe it is. If it is, if you head on down to Ocean City, New Jersey, go take a look at John Coyle's All Campus OC. It is giving 20% off of everything in the store, including hats, shirts to all of the A2D subscribers. And you can wear your team colors with pride. All you got to do is go to All Campus and give John a shout out, who also hosts the ramp booth on top of that.
You better know, Maddie.
The boardwalk is always open.
So there you go. That answers the question. So on to Around the League. Rob, Brad, you got anything around the league that's pressing that you want to talk about?
Well, Tavares is out for 3 weeks.
Yep.
Oh, well, that happened.
Yeah. Just
A lot
want
of
to
guys going
bring
down.
that to bring that out.
Yeah.
So too bad for the Leafs.
They got Austin Matthews. I'm sure they're not really crying.
Oh, they are.
Well, they're probably
Leaf
crying
fans,
because
Leaf
they don't have,
Leaf fans are fed up. You know that there's
that's true.
there's no fan base right now that's more grouchy in the NHL than the Leaf fans right now.
That's true. I mean, I did watch the game where the Sharks beat them, surprisingly, and a fan threw his jersey out onto the ice. So, which still will never not be hilarious to this day. And the Sharks missed the playoffs that year, and the Maple Leafs went to the playoffs that year. But, it's like, whatever. They gave up already before the season even really got going. Anyway, Rob, what else you got for around the league?
Well, I mean, a lot of people are going down, but I'll just stick to the Flyers real quick, do a couple quick injury updates. Farabee coming off neck surgery. He's been practicing, but has not been cleared for contact yet. He's listed as week to week, but if he reports feeling good after multiple practices, he can be cleared and a timetable will move up. Patrick Brown continuing to rehab from off-season back surgery. Now his timetable's a little murky. He's still week to week and skating, but not cleared for contact. Then you also have Bobby Brink, 10 weeks post-op. He's in the building rehabbing, and it's going well, but he's not expected to return till December or January. So they're just looking to get, move the rehab to on ice being the next step, which should be in a week or two. Outside of the Flyers, big news went down today. It was announced Kraken forward Jacob Melanson was banned 2 games for an illegal check to the head of Oilers forward James Hamblin. It's getting chippy already, boys. It's only preseason.
Wow. That's the Kraken. They're making a statement already. The most significant thing in franchise history so far, besides the team coming into existence, and it was an illegal check to the head.
Like your style.
Very, very Broad Street of you.
Oh,
yes.
All right. So let's see here. After that on Around the League, go jump into our shootout segment. Allison played on Saturday. And he actually, something to talk about. Allison stood up for one of his teammates. He got into a fight. But then, out of sheer stupidity, the ref actually gave him a 10-minute misconduct. Allison didn't take the run at the player, but he got the 10-minute Why? He stood up for his player. How does he get 10 minutes? That's fucking stupid.
Already.
Right. It's like
starting already.
Right. It's like the Bruins prospect Carrick. He took the freaking run at what? Do I have to do your job for you, ref?
They have some that guy Greer, that AJ Greer guy. He's dirty. He is a dirty player. I'll tell you what. I'll tell you who was it tonight? Tonight, he went and he cross-checks Lindgren in the face.
Oof.
No, I'm sorry. He high sticks Lindgren in the face. They don't call a penalty, and then he centers the puck, and Cook scores a goal. And you're sitting there. If that was regular season, I think Gallant would have been running on the ice.
He would have been ready to strangle one of them.
Yeah, there was another play where the same guy went and took a run at Vinny Trocheck, and half the Ranger team went after him. He's like almost running to the. He was like running to get out get off the ice.
So the Bruins clearly have some players that are
chippy,
not necessarily angels on the ice, to say the least.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys on the Bruins I can't stand. That one center they have, who never shuts the hell up. I'm trying to think of his name.
Marchand?
No, not Marchand. He's a younger player. He got into a fight with Brendan Lemieux, and Brendan Lemieux beat the crap out of him. and he's been angry with the Rangers ever since, and is always trying to look for a fight all the time. He needs to win one now because he was clearly embarrassed. I just can't think of the guy's name. Travis, what the hell's his last name?
Wagner.
Huh?
Wagner.
No, it's not. No, it's not Wagner. That's not his. I just can't remember the guy's name. He's kind of a punk though. let me check. Let me check their roster real quick. The Bruins roster. I can tell you that in a second.
Well, what I'll say, Brad, to your point, it was good to see of your boys sticking up for a new player coming in Vinny Trocheck. So, that's just showing good team chemistry. And, you always wonder how, you bring in an acquisition, how is it going to meld with the team? And if you're already getting that type of reaction,
well, they seem
preseason.
They seem to like the guy. I mean, what's not to like though? I mean, he's a pretty good player.
Good locker room, man. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Trent Frederick. I can't stand that guy.
Who in the blue hell are you?
Yeah, he is probably the biggest wimp I've ever seen. He loses fights, and then when the fight's over, he's always trying to throw extra shots. This is the kind of guy I'm talking about.
Sure.
I think he's the Brad Marchand in waiting.
Oh no.
With about half the talent.
One was bad enough. Now we're gonna have another one. Christ.
Yeah, but the only difference is he can't score like Marchand.
And then he'll be out of the league in 2 years. Yeah, anyway, Ted saying, because we're the Flyers, if it can go wrong, it will go wrong. A bad call and an unlucky bounce of the puck, it will happen. That's unfortunately true.
Bad things happen in Philadelphia.
True. And he also says, I'll take Pasta. I would take Pasta on the team any fucking day of the week. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's like, of course. He's also a funny motherfucker, too, on top of it. So
yes, he is. Yes, he is. I like those jokes he had with the Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah, they were great.
Yeah.
All right.
With the cell phone, you got another. You're like a cell phone. You have a missed call.
Yeah. With all the Dunkin' cold brews and everything.
Yeah, and saying it, it's being able to say those jokes with a straight face.
You can't put a price on someone who's that charming. It's nice to see.
Yeah.
Anyway, on to the shootout segment. We go to the doc, Dr. Paul Vidal, Specialized Physical Therapy. If you got any aches and pains, go see the doc, specializedphysicaltherapy.com. Make an appointment there. And, so, gentlemen, hitting up the shootout segment here, we'll start off with, in your opinion, the biggest surprise you've seen in preseason so far. Anything that sticks out in your mind that you didn't see coming that has kind of stuck with you as, that was a nice, pleasant surprise.
Well, for me, it's on the negative side. I already actually mentioned it already. Nolan Patrick talking retirement. I'm like, damn.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily call it tragic, but
oh, I didn't say tragic. Ellis is tragic. It just caught me by surprise.
Yeah. Bye-bye, Nolan Patrick. Good riddance. I won't fucking miss you.
Good riddance to bad rubbish.
Right.
Think about that. Everybody was giving the Devils a hard time when they drafted Nico Hischier instead. You remember everybody was saying, how could you draft Nico Hischier over did I pronounce his name right?
Yeah. Right, you pronounced it right. Yeah, it's Hischier.
Yeah. How could you draft him over him? And look what ended up happening.
Right. Now the Devils are laughing their asses off, pointing at the Flyers like, you guys made a shitty pick. Nice job, guys.
You can't predict injury.
Yeah, no, you can't.
No, you cannot.
Yeah. And some guys can't step up in the NHL. That's unfortunately the ugly truth about the NHL. It's not so easy.
Right. So, Brad, any surprises that popped up for you in this preseason so far?
how well Jimmy Vesey has played in the first 2 exhibition games. He had a goal. He had a goal last night. 2 more assists tonight.
Hmm?
He might actually make the team. I mean,
All right then.
if it means that I don't have to watch Dryden Hunt play again, I'd be very happy about that because there's always one player on your team that you just don't want to see play.
Right.
And Dryden Hunt is one of them. Dryden Hunt could stand at the end of a pier and miss the ocean with the puck. Seriously, he likes to grind it out, but every time he gets into a fight, he gets his ass kicked, and you give momentum to the other team. He's just, I really, I say no to him. Please, I'm like, please, VC, make the team. I don't want to see him anymore.
All right then. So with that, we'll skip over the team best prospects and we'll go right to hot take
Sabres.
of the week.
Golden Power. Jack Quinn.
Okay.
Who's the guy that was lying on the ice, by the way, for the Flyers?
Still won't help him.
Who's that? There was a picture of one of the Flyers lying on the ice. That he looked like he was dead after one of Torts' practices.
Oh yeah.
Who was that? That's my take of the week.
That's your hot take of the week.
Yes.
One of the Flyers players looking dead after practice.
Yeah. Says a lot.
Benny's Nation saying.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say Benny's Nation said his biggest surprise how Jack Edwards and Andy Brickley was not rated the worst booth in the NHL.
I am with you on that. I can't. I those announcers, those two are hard. Brickley I can take, but that other guy, he's just
that other fucking guy.
You're the worst.
He is the most viable. He is a vile, despicable homer that I just can't stand. It's just like,
vile.
Come on.
I love that word, vile.
Yeah, he is a vile, despicable homer. The only time I ever liked anything he said was when Zdeno Chara fought who was that guy? Who was the guy that Buffalo, the black guy that used to play for? Oh, Kane. When he fought
Evander Kane, yeah.
And Evander Kane was challenging Chara, and Jack Edwards says, I think that Kane wants to go into the underworld right now. And then Chara proceeded to knock the crap out of him.
Yeah, clearly.
It's on hockeyfights.com. It was hilarious.
Clearly, Kane didn't look up his history of when Chara was with the Ottawa Senators, because all he did when he was on the Ottawa Senators was fight. That was all he did when he played for them.
Yeah, but and you know what? When he used to beat people up so badly, they stopped fighting with him.
Right.
It was like, okay, don't get the big guy mad.
Right. Okay.
But so if you want to see a hilarious fight, okay, and hilarious announcing, go watch Evander Kane and Zdeno Chara's fight from a couple of years ago. It was hilarious. You're gonna go into the underworld.
So I'll give my hot take of the week. My hot take of the week is we will see Carter Hart not start game 1 of the regular season. Simple reason why? Injury. That's why.
Is he hurt?
He's hurt. He's got a lower body injury. It was in practice. He didn't come out for a scrimmage, and he got a lower body injury.
Well, maybe he just got hit in that sensitive area that
the mommy daddy region, the fun button.
Perhaps he got hit there, and he just couldn't.
The twig and berries.
Yeah, that happens in in preseason a lot. So
Sure.
anything
All
can
right.
happen.
Rob, what you got for your hot take of the week?
Well, as a precursor, it just dawned on me today that Karate Kid is the martial arts version of Rocky. You think about it.
You know what? You're right.
I just thought of it. These are the things that wander in my brain during the workday. But anyway, my hot take of the week: Flyers will have the best record in hockey heading into November.
Oh,
before it all goes downhill.
But
from October 13th to November 1st, they'll be the best team in hockey because of this hard camp from Tortorella, making the late, great Herb Brooks proud over here. I expect them to come into the season eating lightning and crapping thunder, like Mick said.
Oh, boy.
And as a result, they'll win some hockey games, but ultimately the depth and lack of quality play and leadership will rear their ugly heads.
Oh, God.
All right, then.
Okay.
So, what Rob is saying, in between that time that he stated, live it up if you're a fan of the orange and black, because you're not getting any more after that.
They're going to get everybody like, we're back, baby. No, we're not.
No. Everybody will get nice and hard, and then it'll go soft immediately. But anyway. Failure to launch, as we call it. We move on. We thank everybody for joining us for another edition of the Hockey Happy Hour. We hope everybody has a good night and a good week and weekend. And next week, we will be back at it again. Let me just check the old calendar here. Let me see if we got a game on the docket.
Arnaud, man. We with you tonight.
It's going to be October next week.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no,
baby.
It's crazy, right?
Rocktober.
Let's
go.
Let's go.
And the Flyers will have a game next Tuesday. It'll be against the New York Islanders. So,
home game?
So, yes, it'll be at home, so it should be televised. And as always, we are brought to you by Manscaped. And if you want to upgrade your life and throw out your old hygiene habits, then get Manscaped 20% off with the free code A2D at manscaped.com. And that'll do it for us. So we thank you all once again, and we will see you next week for the Flyers and the Islanders. And season's almost upon us, gentlemen. Season's almost upon us. Let that sink in with excitement, and we'll see you next week. Peace and love, everybody.